Many people who run their businesses through the vehicle of a corporate body, i.e. a limited company, always have this impression that they and the business are one and the same. Unfortunately, that's not quite the case when you're running a limited company. Now, if you are a director of a limited company, a small business in the United Kingdom, it's both exciting and challenging, but it does carry responsibilities which can be quite impactful. And those are crucial to understand, though, what those are for the legal compliance of your company and to avoid any financial complications. Now, whether you are brand new to the position of running your company or looking to refresh your understanding, stick with me as I go through some of the key duties you need to be aware of, and hopefully in a nice, straightforward, accessible manner. Now, what's the first thing we need to understand? Well, we need to understand that all directors who are appointed to the company must act within their responsibilities, act within the company's constitution. Sounds grandiose, but within the documentation that's generated, you have something called Articles of Association. Now, this means you need to understand the authority that you have is prescribed by the Companies Act, for example, and you need to make sure you don't exceed those limits that are set out. You need to make sure you use your powers, sounds like a superhero, for the reasons they're given and not for your own personal gain or unrelated objectives. What you need to do is to make sure that you regularly review your company's constitution and stay updated on any changes to your powers and responsibilities. Most people, when they incorporate a company, will have what's called a default set of articles. They can be modified. Secondly, you need to be aware that your role is to promote the success of the company. Now, that might sound odd because you think the company and you are one and the same, but that's not quite true. You need to make sure you act for the benefit of the company and the shareholders. Now, this means you have to consider about your employees and make sure those decisions that are taken effectively are in for the good of the organisation itself. Building relationships. Yes, you have that responsibility as a director, maintaining good relationships with suppliers, customers and others. And those strong partnerships will often lead to better deals and opportunities. Now, be mindful of your business, your community and your environment. How does your actions affect the local community? How does it impact on the environment? Responsible practices will enhance not only your company's reputation, but the actual feeling of those stakeholders. You need to be equitable amongst your shareholders. So if you have multiple shareholders, you cannot treat one set of shareholders in terms of higher regard compared to others. Now, before you make major decisions, make sure you create a checklist that covers all the points that I've outlined here to make sure you're promoting the company's success comprehensively. What else do we need to consider? Well, independence. Now, as I said at the beginning, you and the company are separate entities. They're not one and the same. So make sure you exercise that judgment as independent of anything else. So while collaboration is valuable, it's important that you make your own decisions for the betterment of the company. Don't just follow others down a blind alley. Make sure you assess the information comprehensively and make choices based on your understanding of the situation. Avoid any what I call undue influence, and make sure your decisions are not improperly swayed by others, whether they're your fellow directors, your fellow shareholders, or maybe some third parties. So in any meetings that you conduct, make sure your opinions and concerns are voiced. Make sure your meetings are not dominated by one or two. Healthy debate will lead to better decision making. There's more to come, folks. You must also, as a company director, and this applies whether you're a charity, special regulations there, whether you're a not-for-profit, a private company, it makes no difference. You must perform your role competently. Use your skills, apply your general knowledge, and any specific expertise that you bring to that meeting and that discussion. Stay informed, keep up to date, making sure you're aware what the company is up to. Be diligent, pay attention to details, and follow through on your responsibilities. Now, as before, there is a practical tip. Consider your own professional development, ongoing, and training to upgrade and enhance your skills relevant to what the organisation, relevant to what the company is actually doing. Number 5, and this is probably more heavily emphasised in not-for-profits and charities, but it applies to private companies as well. Avoid conflicts of interest. Now, don't use the company's opportunities for your own personal gain. Now, that might sound quite bizarre, but remember, the company is a separate legal entity. It is not you anymore. Now, where there are connected persons, so members of the family perhaps, or close associates, make sure those interests are compatible and do not conflict with the company's interests. Now, as a practical tip, if a potential conflict of interest does arise, make sure it's disclosed to your fellow directors. Make sure you withdraw from participating in any decisions that impact on that. Also, do not accept benefits from third parties. Accepting gifts or benefits because of your own particular position, a very privileged, specialised position as a director, can compromise your integrity. Avoid those improper gifts and don't accept anything that might influence your decisions or create some sense of obligation to that party. Be transparent in your dealings, and if in doubt, discover or discuss the offer with your fellow directors. Now, as a practical tip, ensure and establish a clear policy on gifts and hospitality to guide you and your team in handling such situations. Now, let's continue. You must declare interest in transactions or arrangements that you have with parties where there might be a conflict. Make sure that your dealings are transparent. Don't be reactive. Make sure those disclosures are noted. Make sure they're minuted. Now, if you're a one-person operation, you may think you don't necessarily need to do that, but some of these outlines that we've been discussing will still apply to those one-person operations. When you've got multiple directors, when you've got a larger concern, more people involved, transparency is absolutely critical. Now, what can we say in conclusion? Now, being a director does have legal and fiduciary responsibilities placed on your shoulders. It's enshrined in law, and being a director means wearing those different hats and juggling your various responsibilities within your given powers. You must primarily focus on the company's success. You must exercise your due diligence and care. You must avoid conflicts of interest, and you mustn't accept any undue benefits, which effectively impairs and impacts on your decision-making. Now, folks, if you can remember these responsibilities are not just legal ones, but they're also best practice, that will certainly help you and your business thrive and survive. And as with all these things in life, if you're not quite clear what those duties actually are as a director, does it apply to you? Then drop us a line, speak to your advisor to actually find out more. But remember, there is a legal framework that will regulate how you behave, and you must make sure you're aware of what that legal framework actually is. Running a small business is a journey filled with many challenges and rewards. And if you need to stay in touch, if you need to stay updated, then join the Numbers Know How community, where we can support you on a week-by-week with our catch-ups. We have discussions on a variety of tasks. Check the link for finding out more.